One of the most recent and high profile whistleblowers our generation has borne witness to is the Flint Water Crisis. The start of the water crisis dates back to 2014, when Flint, Michigan's water source was changed from the Detroit River to the Flint River. Leon Walters, a concerned mother and citizen of Flint, Mark Edwards, a scientist and professor at Virginia Tech, as well as assistants from Mona Hanna Atisha, a pediatrician and public health advocate, were the main figures in which spearheaded the release of information regarding the deliberate contamination of the water supply in Flint, Michigan. A CNN article talks about the origin of the water crisis. It dates back to 2011, when Flint was going through severe economic struggles. After car factories closed down, it had lost almost half of its population. The city was virtually broke. As a means to cut expenses in 2014, Michigan decided to stop buying water from Detroit and receive their water supply from a new regional water system called the KWA pipeline, which would not be done for another 2 years, and as a temporary measure, they decided to use water from the Flint River. It was a cesspool of disease, with traces of everything from fecal matter to hazardous levels of lead. The city of Flint knew the risk going into this deal, and they deliberately poisoned their citizens in order to save money. Almost immediately after the water was switched from the Detroit water supply, residents began complaining of murky water, a stench, and various ailments, including but not limited to rashes, hair loss, and diarrhea. More long-term effects of the contaminated water were brain loss, elevated levels of lead in the blood, especially in children, and in some cases, miscarriages. While the citizens of Flint were complaining about their water, the government claimed it was safe for use and constantly reminded their citizens as such. Some major players who are in charge of ensuring an event like the Flint water crisis never happened in the first place are the governor of Michigan, Rick Schneider, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, Dwayne Walling, who was the mayor of Flint at the time, as well as the federal government and other local affiliates. In an effort to quiet the uproar the citizens of Flint were making, the city claimed federal tests showed the water was safe for use. After a Michigan report was leaked to Walters, she was told there was nothing wrong with her water. In fact, they blamed it on her own plumbing. It was beyond negligence. It was a deliberate attack on the people of Flint. State officials tampered with results and even eliminated those in which would have proved there were toxic levels of lead coming out of the tap waters in these homes. In one drafted article by the EPA, they refused to add any anti-corrosive agents until 2 6-month periods had been conducted. They were willing to wait a year to even consider doing anything to change the water supply. Meanwhile, lead leached into pipes, adding hazardous levels of lead into the water and to its citizens. The only remote effort that was made to help the people living in Flint was a notice to all its citizens to boil their water before using it. What the government did was add chlorine to the water supply, and told people to boil it as a means to kill any added chemicals, which in turn increased the lead levels, making the problem much worse. After several labs conducted by Edwards and Atisha, it was concluded that the lead levels from one home were so high they can be considered hazardous waste. Things eventually got so out of hand, a state of emergency had to be conducted, and bottled waters were given out to citizens within Michigan, and the water supply was turned back to Detroit. Having to switch back to Detroit water alone cost the city of Flint around $12 million. That dream of saving money came and went, and a class action suit had also followed. What was allowed to happen in the city of Flint was nothing short of a genocide of a population. Being that the city of Flint is primarily African American only further raises eyebrows to how this could have happened in 21st century America. When there is a chance to make a profit, maybe it's okay to wager people's lives. Maybe no one cares to think about the repercussions that could arise because of it. Black, white, yellow, green, what happened in Flint should never have been allowed, regardless of race. It's a disgrace that an advanced nation like America could still have people complaining about not having clean water. It's a basic necessity and human right. I believe anyone who is involved in the disgrace of a money scheme should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and those who are affected by this decision should be rightfully compensated, not only for paying for water they could not use, but the pain and suffering they may have endured during this water crisis. It is clear to see citizens of Flint were attacked in the worst possible way, by altering the necessity we all need to survive: water. The tragic events that unfolded in Flint should serve as a lesson for everyone that no life is worth the money. There's no equation or cost-benefit analysis you can put on a human life. In the end, it never works, and Flint just comes to show that money as a motivator will certainly get you nowhere. The effects of Flint and the contamination of the water are expected to last decades past the initial contamination of the water supply. Damage is sustained not only to the pipelines going through Flint, but the emotional trauma that has plagued the city will last far beyond when the issue has finally resolved. Loved ones who were lost, others who fell critically ill, and the children who now have permanent deficits, all because of a group of people's inability to speak up on an issue they knew was going on.